Ms. Overstreet, your case has been called. My understanding is there's an agreed order on this case.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, prove it up.
All righty. I'd like to first read the agreement into the record, and then I'll ask the parties. There was originally an acknowledgement of paternity in this case, and then in a prior case that was actually filed in Jefferson County, there was DNA that did find that the probability of paternity was 99.9. So I probably need to put one or the other of those into evidence first.
You've got an agreement, it doesn't matter.
Okay. The agreement is that the parties will be joint managing conservators of the child, and Ms. Wisenhunt will have the right to determine the primary residence of the child. No geographic restriction, state standard visitation. Mr. Wisenhunt carries the child's medical, dental, and visual insurance, and he will be ordered to continue to do that. The child support will be $696 a month starting July the 1st. There's no retroactive child support, and court costs will be paid by December 31st, 2023. I'd like to call first Ms. Wisenhunt.
I have a question. I have a question first. On the record, Ms. Overstreet, you said that the father was going to provide medical, dental, and vision.
Well, he provides vision. Vision won't be in the order. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, then let's make sure for the record being clear that we're not going to have vision in the court order.
No, it's not. I'm sorry about that. I was just reading my notes. So I'd like to call is it Wisenhunt?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you state your name, please?
Heather Wisenhunt.
And you heard the terms of the agreement as I read them into the record?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is in fact your agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're asking the court today to accept that agreement and sign off an order with those terms?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. I have nothing further of Ms. Wisenhunt. I'd like to call Mr. Martinez.
Go ahead.
Can you state your name?
Apolonio Martinez.
And you heard the terms of the agreement as I read them into the record?
I heard, yeah, I heard you say something about what's not in the record about vision. Could you clarify that for me to the judge?
Okay, I didn't understand what your question was.
The question was that the judge asked for something and you said that you apologized for something that was not in the record.
I had said that you carried vision, and he just wanted to make sure I wasn't putting that section in the court order because that's not provided for in the family code.
You're breaking up, so I didn't understand what you said.
Okay. Vision will not be in the order.
So you're saying that that's required of me to hold for the child?
No, it's not required by law for you to have the vision.
Okay.
Mr. Martinez, can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Mr. Martinez, you are required by law to carry medical insurance on this child. You're also required by law to carry dental insurance on the child. You are not required by law to carry vision insurance on the child. Therefore, it cannot be in my court order because the law doesn't require you to carry it. You can still have it, and I would advise you to continue to carry it, but I can't require you to do that under the law, okay?
Absolutely. Now it's clarified. Now I understand.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Ms. Overstreet.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Martinez, did you agree with the terms of the order as I read them into the record?
I agree to all terms. As far as my child is going to be under the address that the mother spoke to you about, and I'm able to go see that child, my child is in the house.
Yes.
Because she's living with because she's living with me right now because she ain't got a place to go.
Yeah, well, whenever she has a new address, it'll be in the court order. And she's provided to always update you. Well, it won't be in the court order, but it's in the court order that she's provided to provide the address to you.
Miss Overstreet, Miss Overstreet,
us.
just ask your question. Don't explain the law to the parties.
Okay, I have nothing further, Your Honor.
You have any other witnesses?
No.
Ms. Wiesnant, do you have any questions about this case before I approved the agreement with Mr. Martinez?
No, sir, I do not.
Mr. Martinez, do you have any questions about this agreement before I approve of it?
No, sir. Just my concern in with the issue of my concern about my child's well-being.
And how I can't address that, Mr. Martinez. You just told me that you agreed to the court order. Either you agree or you don't.
As far as right now, no, sir, I don't.
No, sir, you don't what?
Agree to the terms too.
Then let's have a hearing. Call your first witness, Miss Overstreet. Let's have a trial.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to call Miss Wisenhant again, Your Honor.
She's been sworn.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ma'am, can you already stated your name for the record. Where do you live?
Right now I'm at Paul's because he has to come down here. I was trying to move back to Baytown.
Okay.
Right.
Now, where are you intending to live? What city?
I'm probably going to go back to Nome.
Okay. And that's in Jefferson County.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, and has the child always lived with you?
Yes.
Okay. And when did you move in recently with Mr. Martinez?
About 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago.
Okay. And before that, you had lived in Jefferson County for quite some time. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had lived in Jefferson County for 6 months prior to us filing the suit?
Yes, ma'am. For about a year. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And now, is Mr. Martinez a good dad?
Yeah.
Is that a yes or a no, Miss Wiesnant?
Yes.
Thank you. No, yeah, and no. Now, yes or no?
Now, okay. Now, does Mr. Martinez visit the child on a regular basis?
He did up to a year ago, and then.
Okay. So before you moved in with him a couple of weeks ago, when was the last time he had seen the child?
December 10th of 2021.
Okay. Now, in the 2 weeks that you've been there, do him and the child, they seem to get along and everything's fine?
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't have any problem with Mr. Martinez visiting the child overnight or anything?
None at all.
Okay.
No.
And now, the child is currently covered for medical insurance and dental insurance through Mr. Martinez's work.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, are you asking for any back child support or just child support going forward?
Just child support going forward is fine.
Okay. And Mr. Martinez, as far as you know, does he have any other children under the age of 18?
Could you rephrase?
Mr. Martinez, Mr. Martinez, she hasn't called you as a witness yet, okay?
Okay.
But she did ask the question that way. Miss Overstreet, please direct your question at your witness and Zoom.
I did. I asked her if Mr. Martinez had any other children under the age of 18 as far as she knows.
Go ahead.
Could you ask
Yes,
that
I'm
question?
saying it's confusing the witnesses. They're not sure who it is that you're asking the question to. Mr. Martinez.
Miss Wisenhant. Oh,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Judge. I thought you were through.
I was.
Miss-
Mr. Martinez, I'm not done. Mr. Martinez, please do not talk until somebody asks you a question and I tell you that it's your turn to speak, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Go ahead, Miss Overstreet.
Thank you, Your Honor. Miss Wisenhant, as far as you know, does Mr. Martinez have any other children under the age of 18?
No, ma'am, not that I know of.
All right, thank you. Your Honor, I have no further questions of Ms. Wisenhand. I'd like to call Mr. Martinez.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Martinez, where are you currently residing? What county?
I reside in 1000.
Mr. Martinez, the question is, what county do you live in? Not what your address is.
Harris County.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Where are you currently working?
I work for Target Resources.
And what do you do there?
I'm a truck driver.
And are you paid salary or by the hour?
Hourly.
And how much do you make an hour?
$26 an hour.
Did you say 26?
$26 an hour, correct.
Thank you. And how many hours a week do you work?
40 hours a week guaranteed.
And do you ever get any kind of overtime?
I've had overtime. Yes, I've had.
Okay. How often do you get overtime?
Not often enough, but I get some.
Okay. Now, you're currently covering the child for medical insurance.
Correct.
How much is it costing you a month for that medical insurance?
It's close to $600 a month.
And how many people are on it?
The child and myself.
Okay. And you don't have any other children under the age of 18, do you?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now you're also covering the child for dental. Is that correct?
Correct.
And how much is that costing you a month?
I don't know the exact number, ma'am, but the vision, dental, and all that, it's close to $600 altogether, bundled in one insurance.
Okay. Okay. So all of them are the $600 a month, and you and the child are the only two on it, right?
Right.
Okay. And Your Honor, I have nothing further of this witness.
Call your next witness.
I have no further witnesses.
Uh-huh. So, Ms. Wiesnant, is there anything else that you think I need to know about this case before I make a ruling? Ms. Wiesnant, is there anything else that I need to know about this case before I make a ruling?
No, sir.
All right. Mr. Martinez, is there anything else that you think I need to know about this case before I make a ruling?
Just a concern, Your Honor, that I have for my child and where he's going to be staying.
What's your concern? Tell me what your concern is.
Well, she says that she's going to go back to stay with her daughter at that address.
Okay.
And but she told me that her daughter didn't want her there.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything from them since the day that she just mentioned. I haven't heard from my son. She ain't called me. She ain't let me know anything about him.
Now she did say that you hadn't. She did say that you went almost a year without seeing him. Why did you go a year without seeing him?
Is that a question to me, sir?
Yes, sir.
She didn't. It's because she would never call. My son has had a phone for a year and a half, and I've called him and I've texted him, and he's never replied. So I never knew where they were at.
Okay.
I would send text messages to find out where they were at.
Did they move? Did they move, Mr. Martinez, and you didn't know about it?
I didn't know anything. I didn't know their existence or whereabouts. She would never call me, let me know where they were. So
when you were seeing your son over a year ago, how were you going about seeing him? Did you go to their house and pick him up? What happened?
Yeah, we had a total agreement where we was going to keep the state out of it. I would give her child support.
Hey, Mr.
And
Martinez.
she was real good about it.
Mr. Martinez.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you good.
I want you to listen to the question that I asked you, and I want you to answer the question that I asked you. I don't want you to answer the question that you want to answer. I want you to answer the question that I give to you.
Okay.
You had been visiting your child all the time up until a year ago? Yes or no?
Yes.
Did you go to Miss Wiesenant's house and pick up your child?
Yes.
So you knew where they lived?
Up until a year and a half ago.
All right. And then they moved?
Yes.
Did Miss Wiesenant tell you where she moved to?
No.
Okay. See, that's a problem. Miss Wiesenant, why didn't you tell Mr. Martinez where his child was? Miss Wiesenant, I've asked you 3 questions in the last 5 minutes and you haven't answered but one of them. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Are you moving around? You in a moving vehicle or something?
No, I'm sitting outside.
Because I can't hear you hardly at all. Nope, I can't hear Miss Wiesenant at all.
Oh.
I can barely hear you, Miss Wiesenant.
I mean, I can hear you fine. I don't know.
There you go. Whatever you just did, don't stop doing what you just did, because now I can hear you.
Put it on speakerphone.
Yeah, whatever you just did, don't change it because it's working.
Okay.
Why am I on a speakerphone?
Because it wasn't working the other way.
Oh,
I had it on regular.
okay. All right. So you moved and you didn't tell Mr. Martinez where? Why did you do that?
Because we were only staying at 3 months at a time. We had a hard year. We'd moved and there was a lot of stuff going on. There's no real good reason. So there's no good reason.
Yeah, because you broke up his relationship with his son.
I understand.
You can't do that.
I know.
All right. By law, Mr. Martinez, Miss Wiesenant is required to tell you where she lives, and she's to inform you by law within 30 days before she moves of her intention to move to a different address. Do you understand, Mr. Martinez?
Yes, sir.
Does that alleviate your concerns?
Yes, sir.
All right. Ms. Wiesenant, is there anything else that you think I need to know about this case before I make a ruling?
No, sir.
Mr. Martinez, is there anything else that you think I need to know about this case before I make a ruling?
No, sir.
Ms. Wiesenant, do you have any objection to me looking at the acknowledgement of paternity for the child, Matthew?
No, not at all.
Mr. Martinez, do you have any objection to me looking at the acknowledgement of paternity for the child, Matthew?
No, sir.
State's Exhibit A is admitted into evidence. Based on the testimony of the parties to this case today, the court's going to find that it is certainly in Matthew's best interest to name the parties as joint managed conservators. With Ms. Wiesenant with the right to establish the primary residence of the child with no geographic restriction. Mr. Martinez will be awarded visitation at any and all times mutually agreed to by the parties. If no mutual agreement, then stand in possession. The father will be ordered to carry the health insurance and the dental insurance on the child. I gave him $250 per month credit toward the child support on the health insurance and $50 a month credit toward the dental insurance. Based on my calculations with no other dependents, I'm going to find that Mr. Martinez's child support will be $695 per month beginning July the 1st of 2023. There will be no retroactive child support in this case, and Mr. Martinez will be responsible for court costs, but I will give him until December 31st of 2023 to pay my court cost. Ms. Overstreet, did the state of Texas hear all the terms and conditions of my court order?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any questions, Ms. Overstreet, as to the form?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Wiesenant, Mr. Martinez, what's going to happen now is Miss Overstreet's office is going to send me an order. If it matches what I said here today, I'm going to sign it and I'm going to return it to them. And then they're going to make copies of it and they're going to send it out to each of you. Okay.
And what is Reginald's date of birth?
All right. I appreciate
12/17/2008.
And what is Amari's date of birth?
March 16th, 2016.
Okay. And was there a prior order that was done in this case at approximately June of 2021?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Was there a prior order that was done in about June of 2021 that based child support on minimum wage?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, the state would ask the court to take judicial notice of the court's file, specifically the order that was entered June 22nd, 2021.
Court to take judicial notice of its own file.
And you were recently had what's called a child support review process in our office, and Mr. Slaughter was there, and an order was put together, what we would call a non-agreed. And in that non-agreed, it set the child support at $980 to start June 1st, 2023, with a step down of $765 when the oldest graduates. Are you asking the court to approve of those terms?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And in that order, it's going to have dad cover the health insurance and the dental insurance through his employer. Is that what you're asking the court to grant?
Yes, ma'am.
And all of the other terms, there's not too many, you're asking the court to grant that order. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you actually did sign on that order. Is that correct?
I did.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Call your next witness.
The state will call Mr. Slaughter. Mr. Slaughter, what is your full name?
Reginald Slaughter.
Okay. And do you agree that in approximately June of 2021, there was a prior order that set your child support based on minimum wage? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And we're looking to modify that order today. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And where do you currently work now?
City of Beaumont.
Okay. Now, in that non-agreed that we filed, we have your monthly gross income as $5,771. Do you agree on that monthly income?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And we gave you credit. You cover the health insurance through your employer with a cost for the children with a cost of $204.98. Is that still about right and what you agreed to?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And for the dental, there's a cost monthly of $17.90 for the dental. You agree with those dollar amounts?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, do you agree to the actual calculation that we came up with based on guideline support of $980?
So you asked me earlier, I said yes. I was looking at my net. So from the gross, when I take home from after they take taxes and deduction, I take home approximately $3,922. So if you do the percentage of the $980 that's being requested for child support, that's still coming out to nearly 25% out of my check, out of net.
So, what I'm asking is, would you agree that based on what I calculated for guideline support, it would be about that much, but you don't agree to the actual amount?
Correct.
Why? Can you let the court know why?
Okay, I explained one of the reasons just now. So my net take home is $3,922. When you do the percentage of $980 off of that, it's still 25%. It's still not accounting for any deductions. One of the deductions is me having another child. I believe there's supposed to be a 3% deduction on that. And also whenever I have the kids, I still have expenses when I have Amari and RJ.
Okay, and so what are you asking the court to set the child support amount at?
I was asking for $750, somewhere around that ballpark. Nothing too low because I still want to support my kids. I'm not trying to lowball or anything like that. Just I still have expenses. I still have things that come out of my check. I still have to pay for lots of things on my end. and I feel like 750 would be enough to take care of that. So my youngest with Sierra Amari, she's no longer in daycare. That was one of the biggest expenses that I know she had when I was paying child support when I was working. Now she's not in daycare. I believe those expenses are cheaper, you know?
Okay. Do you understand that the calculation that we have, it is based on guideline child support? You're just asking the court to set it lower because you have other expenses. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Slaughter, how many children altogether do you have?
Oh,
Three.
Okay.
I'm sorry, how many?
Three. Two with Miss Sierra, and then I have one outside as well.
All right. So while we're talking about it, you fill out your taxes every year, Mr. Slaughter?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been back with the city of Beaumont?
About a year.
Okay.
Year and a half.
So I mean, a year and a half.
Yeah. I started in January.
January of 2021?
No.
2022.
Correct.
Okay. So 6 months after I did the court order that lowered your child support to $250 a month, we went to work for the city of Beaumont.
Correct.
And you've been paying lowball child support for a year and a half.
I was on a adjusted, so I was a police cadet, and I was still making pretty much.
Were you making $1,256 a month?
No, sir.
Yeah. So you've been lighting the load for about a year and a half. Let's be honest about it.
And I was paying my arrears as well. I had a lot of debt that I was paying off.
While I understand what you're talking about, Mr. Slaughter, it's not my responsibility to make sure that all your other bills get paid. It's my responsibility to make sure that child support is supposed to be set the way it is. Okay.
Okay.
So let's just be honest. For a year and a half, you paid a lot less child support than what you're supposed to pay.
Okay.
All right. And now the state's asking me to increase your child support to $980, and you want me to increase it to $750. So yes, you said, Judge, I want you to base my child support on $750 because I got a lot other bills that you're responsible to pay. What bills do you have to pay?
I pay daycare, Pampers, wipes, other expenses for my 3-year-old.
Okay, is your 3-year-old live in the house with you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean that is what it is, that you have another child. The law requires, Mr. Slaughter, that I give you credit for the dependent that's in your household, and I've done that. Your child support is not as high as it would be. It's only set at 22.5% instead of 25%. So you did get the 2.5 reduction that the law requires that I give you. Okay. All right. So, I mean, it's the nature of having another child in your household. You're just going to have to absorb that expense. But the law does require I give you credit for that. Okay. All right. So you said that the one thing that you actually started talking about at the beginning was that you were concerned that what you bring home is not actually what I'm using to set your child support on.
Yes, sir.
So the law says that I set your child support based on your net disposable income. Okay. The Internal Revenue Service publishes a data sheets for me every year that tells me exactly what somebody brings home based on their income. So you do make your gross is $5,771 a month, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Internal Revenue Service says the only thing that the federal government requires you to pay on $5,771 is $1,066.14. The Internal Revenue Service says that's all the taxes that you pay on that. Now, if you have a lot of other deductibles coming out of your check besides that $1,066, I'm not supposed to consider that. Okay. If you pay more income taxes than what you're supposed to pay, then you get a check back at the end of every year from the Internal Revenue Service because you overpaid your taxes, right? Mm-hmm. So because you overpaid your taxes doesn't mean that you're not supposed to pay child support on that. Okay. Now you get retirement that comes out of your check.
Correct.
You still have to pay child support on your retirement. Just because you decide to take money out of your income and put it to a later date for you to be able to draw because you're no longer working, doesn't mean that that you're not supposed to pay child support on. You are. You're supposed to still pay child support on your retirement. Okay? Because you still earned it. You just decided not to take it now. You're going to take it later when you retire. You still follow me so far?
Yes, sir. I'm still listening.
All right. You see, while I do understand what you're saying, the law doesn't allow for me to give you credit for all these additional expenses that come out of your check. The law says,
Okay.
Judge, this is how much money Mr. Slaughter earns a month. This is how much money the Internal Revenue Service he's supposed to pay in taxes. And you're going to set child support, Judge, based on the rest of it. Okay?
Okay.
I saw something in this deal I didn't like. Miss Neville, can you unmute?
Yes, sir.
All right. In the interest of trying to conduct hearings in good faith, I'm going to ask you this. Now, Mr. Slaughter says that he really wants to pay $750. I will tell you, based on my calculations, I do get $980. That's what I came up with. I mean, it's within pennies of what's being suggested. Okay. The law does allow me, however, to reduce that if you're willing to agree, just solely based on the fact that Mr. Slaughter does have another dependent in his household that may cost more money than what the law allows. I can do that if you wish me to do that. You do not have to agree. You can say, no, Judge, I got 2 kids and I'm entitled to $980, and that's what I want you to do. Okay? That is your right. You want me to set the child support at $980, or you want me to set it at $750?
$980, sir.
That is your right. I can set the child support based on that information. All right. Thank you, Miss Neville.
Thank you.
Miss Neville, are you still in the service?
Service?
I thought somebody was in the service. It may have been an old order I was looking at.
Okay.
Anything further from the state?
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
Mr. Slaughter, is there anything else that you think I need to know about this case before I make a ruling?
No.
I'm going to change 2 things in your court order, Miss Alexander. The first is the start date on this case is going to be July the 1st.
Sure.
Instead of June the 1st. I mean, we're already on June the 8th. Mr. Slaughter's already missed at least 1 paycheck. So the other thing I'm going to change is, are you looking at your court order, Miss Alexander?
Yes, I am, Your Honor. I know exactly where you're going.
Page 7. I think you need to change those percentages, don't you?
I for whatever reason, I overlooked that. I mean, I looked at the calculations.
Hey,
yeah,
you
it
know
should
what?
be
I don't always catch it either, Miss Alexander, but I just had spent enough time looking at it and thought, I don't think that percentage is correct.
I looked at that and I'm like,
Anything further in regards to this case, Miss Alexander?
nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Slaughter, Miss Neville, what's going to happen now is Miss Alexander's going to send me an order. As long as it matches what I said here today, I'm going to sign it and get it back to them. Then they're going to make a copy of it and send it to each of you, okay?
Okay.
All right. I appreciate you both being here today. Mr. Slaughter, those were really good questions. I do understand what you're saying. They're, right now the law is what it is. And so I'm required to set child support based on your income, okay?
Hey, I got it. All I had to do was ask, and I got my answer.
Yeah, and don't ever be afraid to ask.
Yes, sir.
Good luck to you both. You're both free to go. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you.